What's up, everybody? It's been too long, but we are finally back here with another episode of The Extra Point. As always, I'm your host, Jordan York. Turn it over to the panel. We've got Jack Wilbur, Brian Warner, and Griffin Barfield. And we are going to jump right in. A lot has happened over the last few weeks of action. We've seen all sorts of things in baseball, in basketball, in news. We're kind of just going to talk about all of it. In the first segment of the show, we're just going to talk about the headlines. And the first headline we never really got to discuss, and we really wanted to over the last few weeks, is Brian Kelly got canned from LSU. He fell to Texas A&M after a really disappointing second half in that ball game in Death Valley, and the next day he was told to pack his bags and get out. Guys, what were your thoughts on that decision? Do you think it was premature? Just kind of tell me what you were thinking.
I mean, I'd say at LSU, championship is the standard. The three coaches before Brian Kelly, that was Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron, all three of them won a national championship. So the bar was set really high for Brian Kelly. And not only could he not meet the bar, but he just couldn't win a big game. You can't do that at LSU, and I think that, especially with how the season began, they beat Clemson. They kind of were trending down. It became kind of a moot point. And here we are. They weren't able to beat Ole Miss. They weren't able to beat Texas A&M, to your point, Jordan. And then last year, I think that Alabama game in the rain was kind of the beginning of the end for Brian Kelly. At LSU, you need to win those big games. There's a reason they call it Death Valley, whether you believe if it's real, whether you believe if it's fake. But LSU are trying to win a national championship, and their next head coach will have to define that.
It is okay, so I have two different ways of looking at this. First one is, as just a fan, I'm so happy because I don't like Brian Kelly. I've never really liked Brian Kelly. I don't think he can ever win the big game. He's kind of like a poor man's James Franklin. Is that a bad way to put it?
Can't win the big one, so I agree.
Can't win the big one. So with that being said, if I actually were to look at this as more an analytical side, I would say that it seemed a little premature, but at the same time, you're still having your season. Your season's in the balance. You're still up for grabs possibly, but the SEC's looking loaded. So I can see both sides, where you want to fire him, okay, because you just want to go straight in and try and salvage the season. The other one is just why would you fire him? He's trying to save the season. That's where I'm kind of lost. But long story short, exactly how you said it, he didn't perform. I mean, he had a Heisman candidate at quarterback, and they put up 23 points against Louisiana Tech in week 2. He put up 17 points against Clemson in Death Valley, and Clemson was good. Their defense was great. But you look through the entire the entire season, and as you look into these, because I had to pull it up, I forgot who they played. They never scored more than 24, other than Vanderbilt and Southern Eastern Louisiana.
Yeah.
Southeast
Louisiana.
Right. Those are your two, and the Vanderbilt game. Sorry, they did score 24 at Vanderbilt. I read the wrong score. They scored 24. So yeah, the only game you scored more was either the Texas A&M at 25 or the Southeast Louisiana at 56, and you had a top-ranked team. Multiple 5-stars, multiple talented players, including a Heisman candidate, and you couldn't get that many wins. I mean, many of these are even losses to unranked opponents. So it's like, I don't really know. I think it was a good choice. I think it's a good way to move on, but.
Yeah, I don't think it was premature at all. I mean, like you guys have both said, I'm just repeating the same thing. He hasn't won the big games. I mean, you can't lose night games in Death Valley like that. You can't get blown out at home. That's a really pathetic way to go. And Brian Kelly just proves, I mean, like, he can't win in the SEC. He's had the years. I think everybody forgets, like, it's been 4 years. I mean, LSU is a top-tier program. It shouldn't take this long to win, especially when you hire a guy like Brian Kelly, who was supposed to be a big-name hire. It shouldn't take that long. And I don't think it's premature because we've seen how many head coaches have gotten fired from big schools. LSU is now probably the biggest one. LSU's got to be like, hey, job's open. Top candidates, look at us, we want you. Because, I mean, if you wait all the way until the end of the season, other schools like Penn State and Florida are already going to be talking to people. So I think it's a smart move. Get him out now. This season's, unfortunately, a wash. I mean, there's just not a lot going on for LSU right now. And I think it proves you have to use the portal in today's game, but we saw how many people they took in from the portal. I don't think that that's a sustainable way. And then, I mean, you kind of see it on the opposite side of Clemson not taking in people from the portal. So there's definitely this balance that needs to be found, but I think it's another point in the fact you can't just build strictly on portal. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable.
You have to find a balance. I got to be honest. One of my favorite people that I saw go to LSU was Barryon Brown, the Kentucky wide receiver that lit us up in the Gator Bowl a few years ago. Was it the Gator Bowl?
Yeah.
It was like my freshman year. And so like I was excited to see him play. I was excited to see him go in an offense where they, throw the rock, where they have a nice balanced ability, but it just never seemed to click.
I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Ole Miss. You got to give a lot of credit to Texas A&M. Those two teams are both going to be playoff teams. I think Texas A&M is a contender in my eyes. But for LSU next, you need a guy that can embrace that big game mentality. I mean, because the SEC every other week is going to end up being a top 25 opponent. Every month you're going to play a top 10 team. So it's just a matter of if you're able to win those games. You don't have to win them all. You should have to win one. And I know that, I think the whole Louisiana government is going to be behind that next pick. So they better not strike out there.
I think a big thing too is not only winning the big games, but like when you play in the SEC, you have to take advantage of your home field. When you're letting Alabama walk in last year, an Alabama team we saw clearly like wasn't that good last year, you let them walk in and you get dog walked like that. And then this year it's like, all right, look, this season's already kind of been iffy, with the Vandy loss and that stuff. And it's like night game Texas A&M, Texas A&M 3 team in the country. You have to win that game. You don't even put up a fight. The first half, Texas A&M probably played their worst game of the season in the first half. Second half, Texas A&M was like, okay, never mind, we're good. They played their game. They blew LSU out. Brian Kelly, you can't be doing that. I'm very curious to see where Brian Kelly ends up now.
I think Griffin said it perfectly. The Bama game last year was the beginning of the end. That's where people really started to see a lot of unrest with Brian Kelly, and now things got really interesting because he's starting to argue how much his buyout is actually worth, because it sounds like LSU tried to offer him some money and he said it wasn't enough and turned it down. So more to come on that. But while we were away, the Fall Classic took place, the annual Fall Classic, the World Series, and this was arguably the greatest World Series of all time. Multiple extra inning games, an 18-inning game in Game 3, and the Dodgers ultimately pulled it out. Guys, what was your reaction to what was absolutely one of the greatest World Series, if not the greatest of all time?
I mean, I'll put it really quickly just because I'm not as avid as a baseball fan as you two are. I thought that just as a sports fan, it was awesome to watch. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is arguably one of the greatest competitors in the sport, and it was so awesome just to watch these pitchers go into extra innings after extra innings after extra innings and then volunteer to play back-to-back games. That was just really cool to me, but fair play to the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays were really legit. It sucks that both those teams couldn't win, especially Toronto, but fair play.
I absolutely love this series. I was probably one of the only people, it was actually me and my friend, that were rooting for the Dodgers in Game 7. I was America all the way, Kendrick Lamar. I don't like Drake that much. I mean, he has some nice songs, but that's just not me. But it was pretty funny because everyone else was going Toronto, and we were just sitting there like, please win that 11th inning, get that home run, and then Will Smith hit the home run. We were like, yes. Everyone else was like, no. So it was really fun, but in all fairness, this is one of the best series I'll probably ever watched in my lifetime. Only other one that I can think of that might compete might be the Giants or the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs when they came back 3-1. That was a really good one that I loved watching. But Yamamoto, I mean, just amazing. What was it? 8 innings pitched in Game 2, I think it was. 9 innings pitched in Game 6. Comes in for relief in the 18th inning and comes in for relief in the 11th inning and went 2.5, by the way. So he came in like the 9th inning to close it out. Just absolutely unbelievable performance. Right up there with, I'm trying to remember the Giants pitcher that had
Bumgarner,
yes. And I just absolutely loved it. I loved it even more that the Dodgers won. It was a little bit of a shame that the Blue Jays couldn't win for the first time since I think it was like 1993. But it was really cool to see the Dodgers come out and just show that. And for all the haters out there saying the Dodgers bought their way to a World Series again, I'll just have you know, the Toronto Blue Jays were the 5th highest payroll. So I just want to put that out there. They kind of bought their way to a series as well. But it did just come down to who could close out the games, and the Dodgers were really good at that.
I'm a Red Sox fan, so I'm not a huge fan of either of these teams, but I think this series showed why the World Series is just one of the greatest sporting events there is. Even as like not a crazy baseball fan myself, like I loved watching it. It's just like it really, like you said, I mean the competition in it and the competitors, seeing these pitchers just go out there game after game. I mean, that's what sports is all about. I mean, at the end of the day, like even though these guys are getting paid millions, that made me feel almost like a kid again, just watching like sports, like where these guys are really going at it instead of just being like, oh, these dudes are just out there to get their paycheck. No, those guys are out there like actually fighting for something. So definitely my favorite World Series that I've ever seen, besides ones where the Red Sox have won. So yeah.
Yeah, when Game 3 was won by the Dodgers in 18 innings, it was clear that it had already been written in the stars. The Dodgers were going to find some way to win that World Series. I was for it the whole time. huge Ohtani guy. The pitching staff from the Dodgers was absolutely incredible for 6 of the 7 games in that series. And hats off to both teams. Blue Jays still going to be fine, but Dodgers, they really are the modern day baseball dynasty. But moving from baseball to basketball, and this isn't actually anything about basketball itself, this is more so about money, because we had a weird scandal, and that's the best way to describe it, some sort of mafia links involved between Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, who was the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, a whole bunch of money being thrown around in some very fascinating ways. Real quick, because we don't really know all the details still of this story, what was y'all's thoughts when it came out? Did you think it was even real?
I definitely thought it was real, just with how the state of gambling is. I mean, every single broadcast that you watch of a sporting event, there is an analyst or an expert giving you their picks for a parlay. I just think that that's going to come with the game. I mean, I'm sure the broadcast that Jonte Porter was caught not doing well in a game, there was probably a parlay put by an analyst the time before. I just don't like how gambling is displayed in these types of games now. I think that it's just become too apparent. And now you're seeing things like the mafia and other people that are trying to get involved and trying to make money of their own just by being able to control a player that can do so. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
This really is just a complete 180 from like 5, maybe 7 years ago, right before COVID. And it was them saying, oh, gambling's bad, gambling's not legal. And now all of a sudden you have like the betting lines going across the bottom until they talk about the gambling scheme, and then ESPN takes that right out and is like, nope, don't think about it for 5 minutes, and then put it back in like 10 minutes later. So I do find it very interesting. I don't know too many details about it other than the fact that Chauncey Billups had some sort of poker game or gambling game of some sort, that he was with the mafia at an illegal table, and then the table went sideways or something, and he was caught, and then Terry Rozier was found purposely doing bad or like being injured for most of the year. He purposely had an injury and told everyone to bet like the house on him, and then they all got like $200,000 or he got $200,000. It's a lot of complicated, confusing things. But long story short, I think it's funny, at least as far as sports effect goes, because the Blazers are doing awesome. I don't know how, but they're coming out there winning games after this whole thing goes down. And the funniest thing to me is always watching on social media all the like the Instagram reels and everything, and you see all the people like, Terry Rozier, go out there and do something. He said, okay, and he like throws the ball, and it's like a whole skit of him like throwing the ball out of bounds and not trying to make it. But in all seriousness, I have no idea how deep this goes. I'm sure they're probably just at the surface at this point. But it is kind of crazy that I woke up one morning and it's like, 2 or 3 people that I knew that were like pretty like well-known names for me in that basketball world were caught in the scandal. And I think it also went to another sport, but I could be wrong. I thought someone else from another sport got pulled into it, but I don't remember exactly. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, it's real. It's crazy. I don't know much details, but I mean, I'm a Celtics fan. I know who Terry Rozier is. I watched him on the Heat as well. That guy was definitely selling some games, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think it's just a sad state where you got these guys that are making millions of dollars and then still betting. Like, dude, you're getting to play basketball for a living, and you're still just trying to make extra money outside of that. So I think it really just goes to show the sad state of gambling and how it is in the sports world. Don't get me wrong. I like to gamble sometimes, like on sports games, but I'm not like an avid gambler, and I definitely don't think the athletes should be doing it. So I think there definitely needs to be more regulation within sports, and yeah, again, I would just say it's a sad look for NBA and sports in general.
Yeah, I didn't think it was real. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw mafia linked as like the 3rd word in the headline, I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely some clickbait somebody's buying. But then when I saw who it actually was that posted it, I think it was the senior insider for the NBA on ESPN, I was like, wow, okay, this is actually real. And it's certainly a wild story. But now we're going to move on to the fun stuff of our show, and we get to use our graphics created by Chris in the production studio. Shout out to him. So we're going to start with buy or sell. And we all saw on Saturday a tremendous game that should not have been that good. Indiana and Penn State went down to the wire, and it came down to Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback for the Hoosiers, needing to lead a game-winning drive in Happy Valley with a arguably resurgent crowd. They had a lot of belief they were actually going to pull that one out because of the performance of Nicholas Singleton. But Fernando Mendoza did his thing, and Omar Cooper Jr. had one of the best catches in college football history, and the Hoosiers ultimately came out with the win. So my question for you guys is, did Fernando Mendoza have his Heisman winning drive on Saturday?
I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy, but not in the sense of it's locked up now. I think he definitely put himself as the clear front runner. But unfortunately, this year the Heisman race hasn't been that crazy. I think we also did get spoiled last year with Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. But I think Fernando Mendoza did go out there. He struggled most of that game, but when they needed him to show up, he did. I mean, you could have not watched that entire game, turned it on for the last drive, and you would have thought this dude was having the best game of his life. Because on that final drive, he looked phenomenal. So I will say he had his Heisman moment. I'm not saying it's locked up. I'm not saying he's already won it. But I will say he's the front runner. Great moment for him. He does look like a future NFL pick.
So I'm not buying this at all. I was like, Mendoza's having a good year. Indiana's having a great year. I want to give credit to Curt Cignetti. I came on and I ripped them being like a piece of spaghetti, which was just this whole thing. I will give him his respect for how well he coaches, how well he does everywhere he goes, but I still do not like the guy for how he treated the JMU fan base. I don't know why it says buy. That should not be. That was a sell. But I don't think this is Mendoza. He's going to win Heisman because of the media. I don't think he should win it for his performance. You're going up against a 3-5 Penn State team, I believe, at the time,
Correct.
Which has lost its identity. It doesn't have its quarterback at all. I mean, this is a guy who I just learned his name the other day, and I don't remember it at this point. I don't know what his name is. I don't know if you guys know, if you guys can.
Garkmeyer. Ethan Garkmeyer.
Ethan Garkmeyer, freshman, right? True freshman.
True freshman.
He comes out and he duels you. Like, you're going back and forth. Mendoza was 19 for 30, 218 yards, a touchdown and a pick against a Penn State team that had no identity, has been lost to a Northwestern team for that matter, and he comes out here, has a fantastic closing drive, and the only reason Mendoza's going to win the Heisman is because he has these highlight plays, but if you actually look at the full stats and how he does it, I don't think it tells the whole story. He's just going to have these incredible clips that are going to show really well, so therefore the media is going to build it up, and then he's going to get the Heisman. He's going to get it over anyone else. But personally, if I'm looking at it, I think someone like Ty Sampson should get it. 21 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2,400 yards. Yes, it's Alabama, but it's still a top 4 team in the country that's doing really well. 8-1. Yes, their one loss is FSU, but FSU looked like a top 4 team when they played them, right? In Florida State. For me, this Indiana team, it's a magical run, and it's really cool. And I think there was like a really lifelong season pass woman that's like had 76 years of season pass or season tickets, and it would be cool for them to win for her. But when it comes down to the Heisman, I go with more of the stats, and I think Ty Sampson should be the front runner, not Mendoza, because Mendoza has moments, but Ty Sampson has the record and the resume.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just the Heisman in general is just for an award for the best player in college football. I watched that because YouTube TV was down. I watched the Indiana game when they played Maryland, boat raced them. Indiana ran the ball 300 plus yards. Fernando Mendoza does not have to win games by himself, so that's why I'm going to sell it. I think Ty Simpson is my Heisman currently. I think that Marcel Reed can be up there. That's just my personal opinion. Texas A&M is 10-0. If they end up going to the end of the year, they beat Texas in Texas, Marcel Reed better be sitting in one of those seats in New York City. We haven't even talked about Jeremiah Love. They didn't even feed him the ball against Miami. If they gave him the ball against Miami week 1, Notre Dame would only have 1 loss, at least, let alone that. So for me, I mean, look at Julian Saint as well. He's a late riser. He's just going to continue to get better and better with each game. You got to remember, this is his first year playing. If he's able to beat Michigan, get the monkey off of Ryan Day's back, I think he's a better quarterback than Fernando Mendoza, and he should be sitting in New York as well. Indiana just know how to win so many different ways. That's what makes them good. Their defense can win them games, their rush can win them games, and then Mendoza can win them games. You saw that final drive. I think, yes, Fernando Mendoza is a top 3 quarterback. It's just a matter of who's going to be sitting where and who's just going to matter more for their team. Because right now, look at how Curtis Rourke was able to do last year with Indiana, year 1 Cignetti. They made the playoff. I think it's just more of the system, but I think you got to give more credit to Mendoza because Indiana's a lot better of a team than Curtis Rourke was with Indiana as well. So that's just my take, but I mean, if you're looking at me, I'm looking at the guy that's playing good competition day in and day out, and that's Ty Simpson.
I completely disagree because you said yourself, Griffin, it should go to the best player on the best team. Well, if you're number 1 in the country, you haven't lost, you have a completion percentage above 80%, and less than 5 interceptions and more than 20 touchdowns, you should be the Heisman. You know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm saying Julian Sayin for Heisman, and it should be wrapped up. It will be wrapped up when they beat Michigan, I think, because they're finally going to get it done. I don't trust Michigan at all, and I think Sayin is really – there was a bit of a drop-off after Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud left. Kyle McCord wasn't that guy. They kind of found their guy again in Julian Sayin. I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think you're just now seeing what he can do. But we're going to move real quick to another one. This one shouldn't take much explanation. Does Nick Saban return to coaching?
I'm going to just literally say sell. I mean, I don't know if you saw the clip of him getting sung happy birthday in his recliner. He's laying down. And then, his wife comes over, sit up. That dude's chilling. He already left Alabama because of how bad NIL is and all of that. Nothing is changing about it, so I don't know why he would return. So this is a hard sell. I would be insanely shocked if he came back to coaching.
Yeah, I hear all these rumors, Penn State, even Clemson, some people throw out there. I don't see him coming back. Sell. The only team he would come back for is Alabama because he built such a good resume, but they're doing well. DeBoer is doing better than last year, which is nice to see. And honestly, I think he just likes retirement life. He goes on there to College game day and he talks with Pat McAfee and talks with Desmond Howard and everyone else and has a great time and is enjoying life. Almost as just a Bama fan. Yeah, he's still bought in. He's probably a diehard, but I do not see this man coming out of retirement to come coach again, especially anywhere but Bama. And Bama's job right now is pretty secure, and he still kind of has an oversee over them. I remember there was this video that showed him like in the press box, and it was like a king looking over his kingdom, and he's like watching intensely into the I think it was the Bama LSU game. And he's like intensely watching it. He loves the football game. He loves Bama. I don't see him coming back to coach. I think he's going to enjoy retirement.
So 3 reasons: he's 74, he gets paid a lot of money to have fun on Saturday mornings. Miss Terry would kill him. That's all I have to say.
I'm going to buy, just to be controversial, because never say never. And I think it would be really entertaining to see Nick Saban come back and do it all over again. But we're going to go to our last buy or sell, and this one is probably a little bit more fun to talk about because Clemson won a football game. Can you believe it? The Tigers now sit 4-5, kind of in control of their own destiny to make a bowl game this season with just a road game against Louisville, a home game against Furman, and the rivalry, the Palmetto Bowl against South Carolina. They need to win 2 of the 3 to be bowl eligible. My question for you guys is, will they?
I'm going to go ahead and buy. First off, if we lose to Furman, that would be a catastrophic loss, never seen before in Clemson history. So I'm going to go ahead and basically say they're 5-5. You have to win one of at Louisville, at South Carolina. This Louisville game this Friday is going to be really tough, night game. Louisville just lost to Cal. I think that's going to be a real wake-up call because Louisville is still fighting in a chaotic ACC to make the championship. So I don't know if that's going to be the win. I'm going to go ahead and say we beat South Carolina. Maybe that's Clemson bias. But if this team has nothing else, they should at least still have the hatred for USC. So that's still little brother. That still is, the biggest game of the season. No matter what our ranking is, you always want to beat little brother. So I'm going to go ahead and say bye. I think we finish 6-6. I think we lose to Louisville. I think we beat Furman and South Carolina and go to the Pinstripe Bowl or something like that.
Birmingham Bowl.
Birmingham Bowl, yeah.
I've been rattling this through my head back and forth because I think a few weeks ago I'd come on here and said they're not going to make a bowl game. We're going to go I think it was 3-10 or 3-9 is what I was going to say. But I feel like I've seen a new side of this Clemson team. Not necessarily a ton of steps forward, but just enough to believe that we can make a bowl game. And I might be the hot take on here. I think we go in and we return what Louisville did to us last year and beat them at their home. I know they're a top-ranked team, but Cal showed a lot of weaknesses in that Louisville, and I believe it was in Louisville, correct? Mm-hmm. So they are beatable. No team in the ACC right now is unbeatable. Every team has shown that they are, except for Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech even got beat. So it's like every team has a weakness. I think we can go in there and beat Louisville. I don't know how confident I am in going into South Carolina with that rivalry atmosphere, whether we're 5-6, 4-7 if we lose to Furman, or what would be 6-5 going in there. I don't know. I think the best chance we have at beating South Carolina would be if we lose to Louisville, beat Furman, we go in 5-6, South Carolina's 5-6, and our whole objective is to get to a bowl game and take down South Carolina. That's, I think, our best chance. If we beat Louisville and beat Furman, we have a chance to beat South Carolina, but I don't think the drive and fire will be there because the team won't have much to play for other than beating South Carolina, while South Carolina will probably be playing for a bowl game. So for me, I'm a little nervous in how that goes, but I do think we can go in and beat Louisville. I think they showed they're beatable, and I think we can beat at least 2 of the next 3 games and make it to a bowl.
Can I say one quick thing before you go? I do think I feel like playing against South Carolina, I think that speaks in of itself. I don't care what your records are. I mean, I see clips on Instagram where it's like people brawling out on a field and it's like 2-10 South Carolina playing 2-10 Clemson. That's how it should be every year, no matter the record. And I don't think South Carolina will play for a bowl game. They play Texas A&M this upcoming weekend. They're already 3-6. So again, I think South Carolina is going to struggle a lot down this stretch here. I really think you should show up and put the nail in the coffin for South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to buy. I think looking at Louis, I think you're going to beat Furman. You have to win one of those 2 games at South Carolina or at Louisville. Louisville just got punched in the teeth. Isaac Brown, their starting running back, who torched Clemson last year, might not play. He's questionable. So again, I think if Clemson's riding on that high, I do trust their offense. I think if their defense is able to get the stops that they were able to get against Florida State, use the turnover margin to their advantage, I just think that they are the better team. So I'm just going to go ahead and say bye. I think that they're going to end up delivering in the end.
I will say, I'm just a little – I know it's like rivalry week, and I'm a big one that buys into rivalry, but I expected that last year, and Clemson didn't show up at home. I came back early from my Thanksgiving to watch them hopefully whoop up on South Carolina, and then you go down on a game-winning drive, you turn the ball over, and it just doesn't look good. This is why I'm a little hesitant if we don't have that bowl game to fight for, especially considering this is Cade's last year and a lot of the seniors last year.
I'm absolutely buying this because I think we finished 7-5. I think Louisville being hurt is certainly going to hurt them. I think they got a wake-up call last week. And then I think Furman, that's not going to be any trouble. And South Carolina is just a complete mess this season. They've already fired their offensive coordinator. They're still trying to find their identity, and they're not going to do it when they get beat by 30 by A&M this weekend. They're going to have nothing to play for. Clemson's going to have everything to play for just because it's the Palmetto Bowl and because it's the seniors' last chance and everything. So I'm absolutely buying. Clemson will be in the Birmingham Bowl. I do truly believe it. But now we're moving to game picks, and we're just going to start real quick with one sentence on College Game Day this week. Because Notre Dame and Pitt, they went away from the SEC. They went away from the Big 12. We're at an ACC independent matchup, which is certainly weird. I think Notre Dame belongs in a conference, but that's a conversation for a separate time. But Notre Dame, 2 losses. They need this to stay in the playoff. Pitt needs this for confidence that they can hang in the ACC race. Who wins?
This is a little more than a sentence, but I'll keep it very quick. I think Pitt, your one game plan has to be keep Jeremiah Love contained a little bit. You're not going to contain him the whole game. Keep him contained a little bit. Put pressure on CJ Carr when he drops back to pass. Notre Dame's defense this year has not been what it was last year at all. We've seen that multiple times. I know they've played better as of late, but they have not been playing great offenses. And Pitt, in their last 5 games since benching Eli Holstein and putting in Mason Heischel, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. He's got a weird last name. 48 versus BC, 34 at FSU, 30 at Syracuse, 53 at home against NC State, and 35 at Stanford. Again, those aren't great defenses, but this Pitt offense has been cooking since replacing their quarterback. I think Pitt will pull off the upset. You just have to contain Jeremiah Love in the best of your ability and just let your offense do your thing.
I got Notre Dame. They give me Colts vibes because primarily Jeremiah Love gives me Jonathan Taylor vibes. He runs a lot like him in his own. He's averaging over 6.5 yards per carry. Give me Notre Dame to win in Pitt.
Pittsburgh is 5th in the country in run defense, top in the ACC. Therefore, do I trust CJ Carr to win this game with his arm itself? No. Pitt wins.
Pitt hasn't faced a running back like Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price or Anais Williams for Notre Dame. There's a 3-headed monster in South Bend, and it's going to run through the Steel City. Give me Notre Dame. They will find their way in the playoff, and I think they make another deep run in the college football playoff. Their losses are to Miami by 3 and A&M by 1. They're a legit team. Moving on, we've got an afternoon game, an SEC game. Oklahoma and Alabama. John Mateer and Ty Simpson, 2 elite defenses, 2 pretty good coaches, one probably better than the other. But Oklahoma, Bama, who you got?
I'm actually going to go Oklahoma. This might be a little bit controversial. I know they're on the road. Alabama, fun fact, is 113th in rushing yards per game. So they don't have much of a rushing offense. That means it's going to be a lot on Ty Simpson to throw the ball. Obviously, Ty Simpson has been great, but this Oklahoma defense knows how to get after the quarterback. They're going to be able to get pressure on Ty Simpson. I think he might struggle. I'm not saying he's going to have a bad game, but Alabama, you're going to have to, if you want to win this game, you're going to have to find a way to run the ball. I think Oklahoma right now is going to take advantage. I feel like Alabama last week didn't even play that well against a not great LSU team. I know the final score might not show that, but I think Alabama recently and that win against South Carolina, they're kind of, like dancing with the devil right now. It's getting close. So I think this is the week that you crumble. I'm not saying Alabama's going to miss the playoffs, but I think Oklahoma takes advantage. They get pressure on Ty Simpson. They win the game.
I'm riding with the Tide. I am riding also with my Heisman pick and my personal, I don't want to say my bet, but at least the one that I think will win Heisman, which is Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson can do it. 21-1 touchdown interception ratio is no lie, especially against some SEC talent. So I'm going with the Crimson Tide.
These teams are very similar numbers-wise in terms of defensively. I mean, the rush defense is kind of the only anomaly, so that kind of begs the question for me, do I trust John Mateer with a broken hand? I don't know. Take with what you will. Or do I trust Ty Simpson at home? I'm going to trust Ty Simpson at home. I'm going to go Alabama to win the game.
We got a 1-year break from Alabama being one of the top teams in college football. It was nice while it lasted, but they're back. They are tremendously talented, and that defense is going to get the job done at home. Roll Tide. Next up, another SEC matchup. This one at night, and this one a rematch of a 2-time meeting last season, first in Austin and then in the SEC championship game. The Dogs got the best of the Longhorns in both of those meetings. Do they make it 3 straight in Athens on Saturday night?
Steve Sarkisian has a Kirby Smart problem. Give me Georgia. I think this year the Georgia defense has actually been the thing that's struggling a little bit more, but Texas's offense hasn't been that great. So I think Georgia's defense will rise to the occasion at home, and this Georgia offense has been phenomenal, something we haven't really seen. Not saying they've been bad, but usually it's the more really pro-style offense, kind of like simple stuff with Carson Beck and Stetson Bennett. But this year, man, that Georgia offense looks really good. And Texas's defense, granted, is very good. But how long can Texas's defense keep them in the game? I don't think it'll be long enough. Give me Georgia.
Give me the three-peat. I got Georgia. I like them at home. It's very tough to bet against the Dogs at home. And I don't quite believe in this Texas team yet, led by Arch. I love Arch. Big fan of him. But I don't know if I can trust him against a level or a talented defense like Georgia. The last time we saw him was against Vandy. Yes, he threw 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, over 300 yards, which was, I believe, a career high for him in college. But there's a big step between Vanderbilt defense in Texas and Georgia's defense in Georgia. So give me Georgia.
It's funny how Texas has only spent 2 years in the SEC, and they already kind of have this feud with Georgia. Their first game was they got boat raced in Austin. They were throwing trash on the ground. And then Carson Beck goes down, and they lose in overtime to Gunnar Stockton. And Gunnar Stockton is now their guy who's the signal caller. I think, again, to your point, Steve Sarkisian can't beat Kirby Smart. And all the children say Kirby Smart can beat anybody in the SEC except Alabama. Georgia wins at home.
Georgia's 34-1 in their last 35 home games. Their only loss, Alabama, of course. Ty Simpson, Kalen DeBoer, you know the story. Arch Manning has been on fraud watch since week 1. He was terrible against Ohio State. He's really been terrible almost all season with the exception of the Vanderbilt game. I've not seen anything I like from him, and the Dogs at home not betting against the meme machine in the red and black. Georgia takes that one, and that sends us real quick to the NFL. Bucks and Bills meet in what should be a really good game this coming Sunday. The Buccaneers and Bills both coming off losses. Bucks to the Patriots, who've already beaten the Bills this season, and the Bills coming off of a shocker loss to the Miami Dolphins. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. But in a battle of the bees, the Bucks and the Bills, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Bills. I know that might be a hot take. The Bills this year have been really wish-washy. But I'm going to trust this Bills team. They just got punched in the mouth by the Dolphins after, a great win against the Chiefs. I think this is just the team that this Bills team is this year. Is they're going to win that game against the Chiefs, lose a game like the Dolphins, but I think they'll bounce back against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers themselves have proven not to be, like a crazy great team. They have looked good, don't get me wrong, but they just lost to the Patriots at home. So go ahead and give me the Bills.
I've been tossing and turning about this for about the last 10 minutes. But I have to say, I ride with the Bucs. I've seen it before, but I'm going to switch my answer to the Bills. I think the Bills are going to come out. I think they're going to win. I know they just got dismantled by the Dolphins and Tua one eye. Tua, pretty much, because it just didn't look pretty. It did not look pretty, but it was in Miami. So they're going back to Buffalo. They're going to have the home team or the home field advantage. And Buffalo's a tough place to play, especially in the cold. So you're bringing this Tampa team from Florida, nice sunny Florida, which Jack can attest, really nice weather, to a Buffalo Bills cold, and I believe it's a night game. Is it? If it's not night, it's still going to be cold. 1 o'clock, it's still going to be cold.
It's still going to be cold. Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest. It's like, I believe in Josh Allen. I think they're going to have a bounce back. Yes, he's on my fantasy, but that's beside the point. I do think that they are going to have a bounce back. I haven't really seen 2 bad games strung together by Josh, or at least 2 incredibly bad games. So I see them winning it and beating the Bucs.
Bills have lost 2 straight. They go to Orchard Park. They go back to home sweet home. The only thing I will say is that, again, these Tampa guys have no idea what they're going to be walking into. It's going to be cold. It's going to be loud. There's a chance of rain, too. I think the Bills win. I think they bounce back.
I do have to say, Baker is used to the cold, but I don't think the rest of the team is. Because Baker played in Cleveland. He's used
Bucs are also beat up. Like, it's their injury reports scroll. Like
7th tackle and 15th wide receiver, and you got like the wide receiver coming off from McDonald's that he just got a shift off of, just running in there, and it's like, good job.
That was going to be my exact point about this game. I loved the Buccaneers for so long. I think Emeka Egbuka in particular is just unbelievable. I think he's got so much room to grow. I think the Bucs are a great team, but they're not healthy. They're not anywhere close. And the Bills are pretty close. No team really at this point is perfectly 100% healthy, but the Bills are about as healthy as you could possibly be. Give me the Bills, especially at home in tough weather. We were going to pick the Chiefs and the Broncos because that's a big-time AFC West matchup, but we're going to skip it because we all agreed on Kansas City. No surprise there. So we're going to move to our final matchup, and this one promises to be a thriller. The NFC North champions from last season, the Detroit Lions. The NFC East champions from last season, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles will be playing the Packers tonight, so we don't know what their record will be. But the Lions come in at 6-3. Will be an interesting one in Philly. Who you got?
I'm going to go ahead and say Detroit, even though it's in Philly. I will say the Packers game tonight will influence me a little bit if the Eagles do look good against a solid Packers squad. But I like how the Lions are playing ball right now. I'm not a huge fan of how Philly is. I think Philly still has a lot of things to figure out on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go with the Lions, and I'm a Washington fan. I hate Philly, I can't lie. So maybe a little bit of bias there. But, hey, the Lions just beat up on us yesterday, so I'm going with them. They had a close loss against the Vikings. That Vikings defense is really good. I mean, they beat the Bucs. Close loss against the Chiefs. I like what the Lions are doing right now. I love Dan Campbell. Give me Detroit.
The Eagles look good, but the Lions look better. But I'm going Eagles. I like the Lions. They're doing really well, but if there's anything that can stop their offense is the Eagles' defense. If the Eagles' offense hasn't been producing, the defense definitely has. They've been really good. Now, granted, it's been a lot of close games, but that's good for teams that want to compete in the playoffs and want to compete later down this stretch. And when you get to a cold weather, now mind you, Detroit plays in a dome. So let's just not think that, because they're from Detroit, they're used to the cold weather. Not to say they can't play in it. I'm just saying they're not used to playing outside in it as often. The Eagles are going to be in there in Philly, 8 p.m. I'm from Maryland. That's more south than Philly. I know it's going to be cold up there. And it's going to be hitting, the pads are going to be hitting, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to have the entire Eagles stadium chanting down at the Lions. I think the Eagles will be able to pull this away by a really close margin, but don't be shocked if Detroit still puts up 3, possibly even 4 scores. I just think the Eagles will be able to outlast them by time the final whistle blows.
You brought up the dome. It just clicked something in my head. I'm going to change my answer. Let me tell you about the Jared Goff dome theory. He is under 500 when he plays outside of a dome. It's supposed to rain in Philly. It's going to be cold. That fits the Eagles' game plan a little bit more. I'm going to go to the Eagles to win.
I am not going to change my pick on this one because I believe in Detroit. More so because I think the Eagles have a really tough back-to-back. I think they get the Packers tonight, and I think they fall to the Lions next week, or it'll be vice versa, and I'll be completely wrong. But either way, I think that's a really tough back-to-back against two top teams in the NFC North and the NFC as a whole, and that wraps up what was a marathon of an episode. We covered so much that happened in the last 3 weeks, so much to happen this weekend, and we are back to regularly scheduled programming. We'll see you next week right here on The Extra Point. But for Jack, for Brian, for Griffin, for everybody in our production studio, we say so long from Tigervision. We'll see you next week on The Extra Point.